On this moving piece here, if you had the courage, not the brains, because it doesn't take this kind of brains at the level of context. We're all infants. None of us has got any prowess. We're always a beginner with the truth. The truth you discovered yesterday isn't the truth anymore. It's got to be created newly right now. And context is like that. People don't have the power of context simply because they've never bothered to take a look that it exists. Once you know it exists, you have the power of it. You right now have the power to create a new paradigm of reality in which to live your life. How to stand up on your own 2 feet without any proof, without any calculation, without any predictability, and you create a context for yourself. The way you do that is by doing it. Does that sound like tail chasing to you? I'm sorry, at the level of the truth, it's going to be total logical to create a context. You create a context, it's like that. Just like that. Like what? Like that. It's a simple act because it requires no behavior. It happens before time. Context has no time. It allows time. It has no form. You don't say it in a word. I mean, you can if you like, but that isn't it. Saying it isn't it. Saying the context for my life is that we make a world that works for everyone. That isn't it. It's all right to say it, but that isn't it. Thinking it, that isn't it either. You are it. You just stand where you are with nothing, with no history, with no chart, no plot, on your own, by yourself, without the benefit of society or history, without the benefit of experience or understanding. You stand on your own by yourself and you say in a way that they're talking about when they say in the beginning was the word, not the kind of words coming out of your mouth. You say, this is the way it is. This is the way it is. The world can now work for every one of us. We can make the world work for all of us. The great opportunity facing each one of us is to participate in the transformation of society, of what it means to be human. Now, you better watch out about that, because I want to tell you something about that as a context for your life. You've seen on television those great films, those really comical, funny films of airplanes in the early days, when before the flight of airplanes was this complex. Wonderful complex wings and machines heavier than the air flight. You watch them go off on a hill, and they go, and everybody laughs uproariously. You think Wilbur and Orville Wright didn't see those films? You think these guys who were they didn't watch them on television? But you think they didn't see those films? You think guys didn't guys deeply involved in the aeronautical research before flight didn't know about all the hysterically funny stuff, and didn't know that people were out there taking photographs and writing down descriptions of their attempts to fly? It's the problem with context. There's no precedent for it. There's no argument for it. There's no proof for it. You say the world can work for everyone. Prove it. I can't prove it, but I can know. I can know it, and I can honor it the same way that Wilbur and Orville Wright could not prove that flight was possible. They could not prove the context heavier than air flight, but they could know it. They could honor it. They could live from its truth. They could live from its truth into the lack of the fact of it. And by doing so, they can make it possible for flight to occur. You and I have the opportunity which no human being has ever had. A space is open for us that no human being could ever come from. Flight's already been discovered. That space isn't open. Flight is a more better different game. It'll get better, it'll get worse, it'll change, it'll improve, it'll evolve. But the space in which it evolves has already been created. The space for what's the word for moving a body from one place to another without to another is it teleportation? Is no idea whose time has come. We need a little bit more mass transit first. You and I are not privileged by the opportunity of such a space. You and I, human beings living on this planet today, have an opportunity to create a context which has not heretofore been available. And the opportunity to create a context of a world that works for everyone. I don't know when it happened. It's just very clear to me that sometime around now, the opportunity to make the world work for everyone has put in its appearance. It is an idea whose time has come, and you and I have as a privilege the opportunity to make a world that works for everyone, the context of our lives. So in a context of making the world that works for everyone and having the opportunity to create that as a context of our lives, we find then we have the power to create as who we are, as the principle of our living, that who we are actually makes a difference. It really counts who we are. But what about making a difference? What about living successfully in a world in which you not only want to make a difference, in which you not only who you are makes a difference, but also you must need to be effective. I mean, the circumstances you've got to be moved around. So how do you make a difference in those circumstances? For the secret. And now, for those of you who can only tolerate what you call practical things, concrete things, I am now down to the concrete and practical. So practically speaking, how do we get along in the circumstances of life? Well, you've got to find a way to create some leverage. You've got to find a way. The Buddhists call it skillful means. You've got to be able to produce 5 for 1. You've got to get 5 out for 1 in. I like the way Bucky Fuller talks about it. Bucky calls it trim tabbing. He says there's a great ship of state, this great ocean-going vessel steaming along the ocean, and people are trying to guide the great ship of state by going up to the front and pushing on the front. Nothing happens because you don't turn a great ship by pushing on the front. Turn a great ship by going all the way to the back where the rudder is. And the ship turned by moving the rudder. Takes great force because the rudder is in the stream of the ship and in the slipstream of the ship. Takes great force to turn the rudder. It's being turned against the flow of water, against the movement of the ship. But when you turn it, the ship of state slowly makes the turn. And if you're going to have any effect on the great ship of state, if you're going to have any effect on life, you got to get back to where the controls are. And Bucky points out that at the end of any control surface, like an airplane, it's usually a little trim tab. Little, very little thing. Takes very little energy to move. It can be moved very easily. Just a little wheel. A great big airplane is just a little wheel. You can move it with your 2 fingers. You don't need to use both your hands to move the stick because it's so small. See, there are very little forces acting on it. It's real small. But if you turn that little trim tab, it turns the rudder, which turns the great ship of state. And that's the way Bucky says that the little individual can count. And man, if you're going to make a difference in life, you dang well better find out where the trim tab is. And you better find that trim tab that works in a you and me world, because that's one of the really the rules of living successfully in a you and me world. You've got to have leverage. You've got to know where the trim tab is. Now, in a you and me world, you move the rudder of the ship of state by being clever, by gaining influence, by buying your way along, by conning your way along, by arguing your way along, by bullying your way along, by shoving your way along. You go on and keep trying that. See how it works. You accomplish all those things in life that will leave you with a life that didn't even get used when you die. So the rules for living successfully in you or me don't have anything to do with trim tabbing. But in a you and me world, you've got to find a trim tab. And a trim tab is real simple. Now, this is for the folks who like concrete, real simple things. Here it comes. The way to get your hands on the trim tab, the way to get leverage, the way to be effective in a world in which you make a difference is to discover what is needed and wanted and produce it. Devote yourself to discovering what is needed and wanted. Well, where? Right where you are. Go home tonight and look at the people in your house. Look at your wife. Don't go over and ask her. Do it on your own. Think it out for yourself. Ask yourself. Discover. Find out what's needed and wanted in her case. What is needed and wanted. You discover what's needed and wanted right where you are at home. You go to work on Monday and you stand in the middle of the place where you work, in the middle of your office, and you sit in your chair at your desk or in the middle of the plant or in the middle of the building, wherever the heck you work, in the middle of the set of wherever it is that you work. And instead of trying to figure out what would get a raise or how you can do a little less work or how you can get promoted, if you want to make a difference, sit there, stand there and discover what's needed and wanted in that place and then produce it. I'll tell you what, when you start doing that, you'll begin to know that who you are makes a difference. All right, y'all. Peace, love, like, subscribe, share, hype. We'll be back in a month. Bye.